Welcome to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show, a real estate investment program. Listen and learn how to use real estate to build wealth and passive income streams for you and your family. We bring you experts every day to discuss and answer your questions on everything from single-family homes all the way up to 600-plus unit apartment complexes. And now, the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show.
Welcome to the show. My name is Al Gordon, and as always, we're working on your financial freedom. And you're wondering, how do I do this? How do I achieve all this financial freedom that you keep talking about on this show? Well, I actually have a solution for you. As a matter of fact, I've asked Peggi and Leo to be on the show today because they actually have a solution that they can provide to you, which is a different solution than the solution I would provide. What does all that mean, you might ask? Well, it's kind of like this. At Lifestyles Unlimited, we all follow the same map that gets us from where we're trying to start from to where we ultimately land, which is retirement. And then it helps us to get into that place of retirement where we focus on our lifestyle. It's a really cool system. But all of us come to Lifestyles Unlimited with different experiences. We come with different bags of money. We come with different goals and objectives. And what's neat about all that is it doesn't matter what you come to the table with. It all plugs into the map very successfully. So the point I'm making to you is that Peggi and Leo, they started in a different place than I started in. You got to remember, I started with a pension and trying to live off of a pension until I realized that was not going to work out. That was my game plan coming into Lifestyles Unlimited. But Peggi and Leo, they had a completely different starting point. So why don't we do this? Let's bring them onto the show. Let's ask them where they started. And then let's have them explain to you their journey. Because once they explain their journey to you, it's going to start making little synaptic nerves in your brain fire correctly. Peggi and Leo, welcome to the show, you guys. How are you?
Doing great. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm kind of fired up today. I'm actually trying to pinpoint what I think is a water leak at the house that I just bought. I mean, the one I'm living in, not necessarily the one that I'm rehabbing right now. So you got any suggestions on that? Because it's perplexing.
Walk around your front yard in bare feet, and if you feel warm water, that's where it's at.
All right. I'll be honest with you, Leo. I'm trying to figure out whether you're pulling my leg or if that's sound advice. But I hear Peggi laughing, so.
There was a guy, actually, that did that for an apartment. I said, what the hell are you doing walking around in your bare feet? I said, are you crazy? And it was a guy had been a manager for, 40 years. And he goes, no, this is, when you can't figure out where the leak is, he says, this is the last thing you do. He says, you walk around in your bare feet. And finally he hit a slushy spot in the grass or the yard. And he says, if it's, wet or warm, he says, you just hit the jackpot. And I thought, I'd never figured that out. So,
and here I've been scoping lines all these years. Who would have thought I could just take off my shoes and get that done?
You might also get one of those machines that tells you too. That's exactly right. I don't know if you want to do that. You might hurt yourself.
Yeah, well, that's why I have people on my team that do that for me, because trust me, it would not be a pretty picture if I went out with any of that technological equipment and tried to do what they do. First of all, I don't have the training, I don't have the expertise, and to be honest with you, I don't have the patience to do any of that stuff. So I got to ask you guys.
Thank God for the people that do it, that specialize in it. That's for sure, the vendors.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what, guys. Let's talk about where you guys were before you became members of Lifestyles Unlimited. What were you guys doing for retirement, and how effective was it?
So, Al, I was in banking and sales and management, and then Leo was in sales, and we both retired, and so our retirement plan was that we were going to get into the stock market and purchase the stock and then sell call and put options. And we did pretty well for many years, and then the recession hit, and then our account balance went down because the stocks kept going down, so we were losing equity. And then we lost our ability to sell the puts and the calls, so our income was going down. And we were on the verge of potentially going back into corporate in our high 50s if we could even get a job. And the household wasn't very happy. We were both kind of sad. And Leo had been listening to Dale Walmsley for a number of years on the radio. And we both just have a little bit of background in real estate, enough to understand some of the terminology, which you certainly don't have to have when you join the group. But Leo kept nudging me, let's go over and let's listen to hear what these guys are talking about. And really, we were looking more for, can we have an equity gain, an increase in equity, and also make income? And so what little we knew about real estate, we thought this might be a good thing to try out. So we went to the 2-day, which is 16 hours of intensive training on investing in single family and multifamily. And Leo was he was so excited. He couldn't sleep. He was jumping around. He's ready to sign, join the club. And I'm like, wait a minute. And he said, well, what's the problem? And I said, I need to be sure. I mean, there's so much fraud out there. There's so much fly-by-night. Things that we've been into didn't add up to what we thought that they were going to. So I just really kind of had to think about it and figure out a way to prove it was either right or wrong. And it was during the holidays, and he kept coming in every night, pressuring me. It was during the Christmas holidays. And I thought, man, I need to do something. So I remember David in the 2-day had talked about some National Apartment Association independent rental owners who had won awards, national awards for their properties. And also this went down to the state level and the local level. So I went on Lifestyle's website, and I did see their names. But I thought, well, I mean, this is the company that's telling us all this. And I thought, I'm going to actually go on the National Apartment Association website and see if their names appear there. And they did. And I thought, oh, my gosh. So I had to go back to Leo humbly and just say, you're right, I'm wrong.
Okay, we're going to hold that thought right there, Peggy, because we're going to break.
Okay.
And I got to let Leo win one for a change. So stick around. More on this.
Warning. Listening to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show will change your life. We will teach you how to create wealth and passive income so you can be financially free. And now, back to your host.
Welcome back to the show. All right, let me set the stage for you. I've got Peggy and Leo on the show with me today. They've been members of Lifestyles Unlimited since 2014. In 2015, they decided to upgrade their approach to investing, and they started investing very heavily into multifamily apartment communities. But prior to doing that, the both of them had left very successful careers. Now, you guys effectively, you walked away from those companies, correct? And you decided to trade your time that you were spending in those companies, spending that time focused on the stock market, doing puts and calls and things like that, correct?
Correct. That's right.
And then the stock market just didn't play nice with you guys. What year was that, by the way, that everything was going wonky for you?
Well, okay, so we started end of 2006, and then really when the Great Recession hit, we were still okay, believe it or not, but I'd say around 2012, 2013, something like that. And we really weren't making enough on the put and call options to pay our expenses. So we knew we just had to switch gears and start doing something else.
Okay. So that's when real estate showed up. That's when Leo decided, you know what, I'm going to go check out this lifestyles thing. And then all of a sudden he comes home and Peggy's scam alert goes off. And Peggy is doing the right thing. I'll be honest with you, Peggy. I mean, it's exactly what my wife did. You know, let me see what you've gotten us involved with, because unfortunately, and I agree 100% with statement you guys made, there are people out there that are just interested in having you write them a check, and they're really not interested in giving you all the support services that you need in exchange for that check. I mean, that's what you were fearful of, right, Peggy?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we've done tax lien investing, and that was more they come in town and then they leave, and then they give you some training materials. At least we had a phone number with one of the firms to call, but it was one lady that was just handling the whole nation, all the calls coming in nationally. So that was kind of hard to get in touch with them. And we really kind of had to self-learn on that. And it wasn't all bad. We learned a lot, which really helped prepare us for when we got into lifestyles, because we learned some stuff about, some information about real estate. But we didn't want to go there. And then we've done multi-level marketing, and I'm sure some people do well with that, but I think it's a few. And how many times are you going to ask your friends if to buy something from you? I mean, it just doesn't work out. The thing about lifestyles that I love is there's motivated people that are looking for investors to get in their deals, and then there's motivated passives that want to get into the lead investor deal. So we're all on the same page. It's not like you're trying to force somebody to buy into your deal. In fact, SEC ask the passives. I mean, they want the passives to go to the lead and ask to get into their deals. The leads cannot come to us, and solicit their deal. So it's a great thing. And plus, we just love how it's brick and mortar. There's a building, we meet there. There's buildings in Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, Phoenix. They're starting operations in Georgia, Tennessee. So it's the real deal. And actually, we have spent time with Dale Walmsley personally through the years that we've been members of Lifestyles. So he's real. He comes to the big national expos every year where people come from all over the country, including internationally, to our meeting. And Dale's there. He's shaking hands. He told us that he shook about 500 hands at this expo, and he still didn't get COVID, thank God.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, that's a good thing. And we're thinking that there were as many as 3,000 to 5,000 at this last meeting, and I think prior to that, 5,000 people from all over the country. So I was looking for something real like that. And, I mean, Al, it's ongoing education, as you know. I mean, you just pick a topic that you're confused about, and you can get online and read about it. Or they have lunch meetings where we learn different topics. Another thing that I love is that you can get on and see what we call case studies and road trips, and that's where the lead investors, which would be something like in the market, they're called sponsors or syndicators. You can see them talk about their prior deals and what they did, their successes, their challenges, how they overcame it. You can get a feel for their personality, how they handle things. And we can do that, on an ongoing basis at your convenience. So, and I don't know. I mean, there's just in-person meetings, and there's virtual meetups, too, all over the country, because Lifestyles doesn't have offices in every part of the U.S., but a lot of those members that are out of state, they meet with each other in person and have their own groups, but they're still Lifestyles members tapping into Lifestyles training and mentoring, and then they do have virtual calls, too. So it's the real deal, and that's what I love. I just didn't want to get in something that wasn't.
She's like an FBI agent.
I'm with you. I like it. I mean, you heard it, Leo. I mean, you and I were both listening. Peggy just rattled off all of the support services that are available to our members, which I think what you were trying to say, Peggy, and you did a very good job of it, by the way, is that if I'm going to invest my money with a company that's going to teach me, they're ought to be something tangible there that just doesn't disappear after I read a little booklet. There should be a lot of ongoing things that help me succeed. And that's what you're telling us, right, Peggy?
That's exactly right. And another thing, Al, it doesn't stop. Like some companies say, well, we'll mentor you for 6 months or a year or 2 years. This is ongoing mentoring and training, as long as you're a member.
Real estate's always a changing subject, too. I mean, with finance, legal issues and stuff, and they keep you abreast of what's going on, and it's really great. Even the little guys can get into deals. I've seen people as low as $10,000 get in as passives, and it's not just for the big cheese with 100, 200, or 300,000. It's little people, and so it's great. I think that right there is a really good thing it helps the smaller people get in, and I like that aspect of the whole thing. That's one of the good intangibles that I like about it. That's really good.
Yeah, I mean, it's members helping other members out, and it's members understanding that there are other members that don't have necessarily the big bag of money that they came into the program with, and as a result of that, they're willing to make exceptions to allow those members to get started. I mean, and that's the whole concept. It's members helping members. All right, when we come back from the break, we're going to talk about returns, because I'm going to tell you something. Peggi and Leo have got this figured out. Stick around.
Welcome back to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. It's time to turn up the volume and fine-tune your passive income plan so you can create the lifestyle you've always wanted.
Welcome back to the show. All right, so I don't know which one I should ask this question to, so I'm going to ask this question to both Leo and Peggy, and we'll see who chimes in. Here's the question, guys. Do you think that it is fair to assess an investment based on the amount of time that it takes that investment to double your money? I mean, do you think is that a fair benchmark?
I think so. I think it's a very important thing to look at if you can get to where you can double it before you die. Yes, absolutely. And looking at it, and also after you get through with doubling your money, you end up, hopefully, like with lifestyles, when you're in there and you see how you can refinance, and it's a non-taxable event, and get your money back, which we've refinanced and gotten all our money back on a number of deals, 100% at least, and some even a lot more than that, and still own the deal. And then one deal we were owning, we'd gotten already 135% of our money back, and then they were giving us a cash flow distributions as though we were, if say $100,000 we'd invested, we were getting $14,000 a year, and I just thought, man, this is the greatest thing this is just too good to be true. So yes, doubling your money with lifestyles and with real estate, it's the way they do it. It's really a great thing.
So when you guys were doing the stock market thing, when you'd left corporate America and your game plan was to work on investing in the stock market, the puts, the calls, and all that sort of stuff, how long would you estimate it would take from when you started doing that to actually get to a point where you were able to double that money?
You go ahead, Peggy. Go ahead.
Yeah,
well,
Peggy's the banker, so yeah, we got to let her. We got to give her the lead on this.
Yeah.
I think really the issue is that the stock market's so volatile, and the method that we were using, they wanted us to hold the stock for 10 months unless we were called out, so we kept buying shares of stock every month, and we were real compliant. We followed the program. But if the stock was going down in value, we were still asked to buy shares every month. So it really affected our net worth and our equities, so that kept going down. So with that going down, it would take a whole lot longer with us doing that method of investing to double our equity. And the thing about it, I think the sooner you can increase your equity, and the sooner you can refi, then you get some or all of your money out of that deal, but you're still in the deal, you're still making your income. But that frees up cash, and that's the non-taxable event when you refi. And then you can take that money and deploy it into another deal. And so we went from getting into 10 deals our first year. We were tapped out. The good thing is our money was all invested, our investment money. The bad thing was we had to sit on our hands and keep ourselves from signing another agreement to get into another deal, even though the deal looked great. But then within about maybe 2 years, we started refining on some of our properties, and we built ourselves up exponentially. And so I think the sooner the better that you can start building your equity and doubling your net worth. And so we've been into 35 deals to date with that same original investment money that we started with. But then when we refi, then almost all the time we take that refi money and we redeploy it into another deal, and then we live off the cash flow.
Man, that just sounded like poetry coming out of your mouth, Peggy. I mean, it sounded beautiful. So this is kind of what I was hearing. And Leo, chime in if I've gotten this wrong. You've experienced a doubling effect at least once so far that you've been invested in real estate. Has it been more than once?
Well, let me say this, and I don't mean to be bragging or anything, but I'll say every dollar that we put into this, it has turned into $4, and we've tripled our net worth, and that's been over, since 2015. And it's, some of it's an unrealized capital gain at this point, but and we are still finding good deals. We've gotten into 7 deals this year, and it pays to go to and stay in touch with the leads and stay hooked into the program and do what they say. And you know what? The opportunities do come up that are really significant to where there looks like some good upside. We've gotten into a few yield plays that are just outstanding, and also there's some hybrid value plays that we've gotten in. Not necessarily value that much, more hybrid, but it's just they're still out there, and you can find the deals, and it's just really it's a good hookup with the lead investors, and the way they do it with their connection with all the brokers they've got in all these cities. It's just there's a lot more deals out there than people think if you just keep looking around and you keep trying. And it's a real challenge for the lead investor and sometimes for us passives even. We look at a lot of deals. So it's out there, That tripling of your net worth, I just thought that was too good to be true. So. Yeah,
and I think people need to understand that you've only been doing this for 6 years. I mean, you started in 2015, and okay, so let's talk about the time commitment, shall we? Because I know investing in the stock market, because I did some of that too. It tends to be time intensive, and you also have to kind of have that stock market kind of on your radar so that it's always like in the corner of your eye, because something could happen that could cause you to do something. So it does take time to do all that stock market investing, right?
Yep. And one of the things that we did with our stock market, it was more of a deal where we would own the stocks where we were buying them on, the third of the first Monday after the third Friday of the month, and then you just sit on it after you hit the call or the put button. But still, though, it took some time. It wasn't too bad. But with lifestyles that we're doing here, it takes some time. But also, we enjoy our time here, and we love the people that we're involved with, and because we're all doing the same thing. Matter of fact, it's like Peggy said, really many of our friends are social friends are all with lifestyles, and the energy that you get when you walk into that front room in Dallas before like a case study or a road trip, it's unbelievable. It's every race, color, creed in there, and everybody's talking it up. And even with the first time back from COVID, boy, it was just like everybody was just going great guns. So it's just, it's really exhilarating. It's wonderful. Another thing I wanted to mention about this whole program that's not necessarily money is that, we're going out and getting these apartments. We're buying properties that are run down by poor landlords, and we go in and we buy them at a reasonable price. And we're getting rid of the, like, say, for instance, the drug dealers out of them and getting, other undesirables out of there, and then going in and fixing up these units and putting money into them and making them clean, functional, housing for people. It's the best product for the best price in the neighborhood. And then getting people who are hardworking in there as tenants, or residents, I should say, and it just gives you a good feeling. It's a win-win-win for all parties involved that deserve to be in it. And I just like that part of the good social end of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that. So how much time do you guys really spend on your real estate investing business?
Peggy, what do you think on that?
It really depends. Like when we're in acquisition mode where we've got cash freed up and we're looking at deals, it's going to take more time. But the really neat thing is that we see, because we're hooked into Lifestyle's Podium, which is a
hold that thought, Peggy. We're going to break. We'll give them the answer when we come back. Stick around.
We're back with the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. We're here to answer your questions and help you become financially free.
Welcome back to the show. All right, so Peggy, I have to be nice to you now, and I have to politely ask you the question that I asked you at the end of the segment, knowing it was going to take a whole lot more time to answer the question, and I wasn't being nice. But I'm sorry. I'm gonna apologize on the air and say I'm sorry I did that to you. Now tell me the answer to the question, Peggy. and really, all I'm trying to get at is, how much time do you really spend? Like, is it on a daily basis? Is it a weekly basis? A monthly basis? How much time do you really spend focused on your real estate investments?
Okay, so and this isn't like a 2-word answer by any means. I've got to explain, but Lifestyles provides a software where the leads can get on the software, and the passives, if they're signed up for the software, which is free to the passives, then they can connect with all the leads. And then that way, when the lead finds a deal, then the passives know about it. They're sent an email, and then they can respond if they're interested and read the documents. So that right there, I mean, I can't even imagine going out in the open market and trying to find investments. It's just all on that software, and you click a button and you're connected with that lead investor who's going to be the syndicator or the sponsor of the deal. So that makes it real easy. And then I would say if they're not on the podium, then when we go to meetings, we meet them, we shake their hands, we send them an email telling them about ourselves, and then just ask them to put us on their distribution list. And that doesn't take up a whole lot of time. So I would say, let's say that we are looking at a deal, we're reading the documents, we might be looking at several deals at a time. I mean, I'm talking a really busy week, and we're still meeting other leads, and to get into their deals. I'd say worst case, 20 hours a week. I mean, it's definitely not full time. The least amount that we'd spend is 0, no hours during the week, because we're not trying to get into a deal. Sometimes the leads will have virtual meetings, investor meetings, which is great. They update you on what's going on and what they're doing, and they might even mention when your next distribution check's going to be. Occasionally a lead will have an in-person meeting, which you don't have to go. We love to go because we meet the other passives, and there might be another lead that's in that lead deal, so that might be a potential investment. So we do some of that. So, when we have activities like that, it might be 20 hours a week. And otherwise, if we don't have any financials to read, because they send you quarterly financials, we don't have any financials to read, no meetings, we're not trying to get into a deal, it's zero time. And then it's up to you.
Being the ambassador, too. That's good.
Well, I'm not even including that, but, that's really not so much the investing, but we are ambassadors for lifestyle. So what we do is we help the new members get started, and we help to show them the roadmap on the steps to get started, and we introduce them to other passives and other leads. So that, that does take up more time, but most people don't have that going on. But we love what we do, and we're volunteers, at doing that. So I know that's a lot of verbiage.
Yeah.
Very minimal. So, Al, I know that's a lot of verbiage, but that's my answer.
Okay. Well, I think it gives the audience a good understanding of how you spend your time. And I think it's important for people to understand that when you spend your time focused on certain things, those are the things that you tend to believe are important in your life. So, if you're spending upwards of 20 hours a week, maybe analyzing deals and stuff, I mean, is that like painful work, or do you actually enjoy doing that kind of work?
We really
I know
enjoy
I
it.
love doing it.
Leo's an animal. He loves it. Go ahead, Leo.
Well, I mean, a lot of times what you can do is you're looking at this deal. And so what I like to do is, like, you'll be looking at a property in San Antonio, and I'll get on the Internet and Google the property. And one of the things I'll do is there's several websites in there that'll pull up properties that are next door to it. And you can just hit those buttons, and you see what their asking rents are compared to what your property is. And you compare the size of the units and the layout and what the vintage of the property is and all. And so you can figure out if your property's running a rental rate at, say, 65 cents a square foot, and all the neighbors are at 90 cents a square foot, you think, and it's the same vintage and all that, hey, it's like, you know what, maybe we're on to something here. And so you go in, and then you can end up doing other research where maybe we'll end up getting on Google Earth and making sure we count all the parking spots to make sure we can match the rooms up with the parking. And so looking at the roofs and just looking at the neighborhood, is it the same type of neighborhood that the property is, or is it a C property that's in a neighborhood that really will shoot up in value like a rocket, or is it the opposite? And so, anyway, there's a lot of things you can do to research and also going into like the economic development of the neighborhood and the whole area, and seeing going to the city council and see what those people talk about and what's going on and what's the upcoming things that are going on in that city and around that area. And because you're always looking for employment, and employment is directly related to apartment complex investing and single-family homes, because people need a place to live. And so there are just a plethora of things you can do, and we do take our time and like to do research, and then we'll bounce it off each other and see what we each think about it, and come up with a good, bad, and ugly of the deal. And if one of us doesn't like the deal, then we don't do it. But we discriminate pretty closely on it.
So what kind of markets are catching your attention right now? I know you guys invest in different markets in the Houston area, and you've actually expanded outside of Texas. But what are those markets that are capturing your attention?
Let me answer this one. Is that, I tell you, one that's really got my attention is we've gotten into a deep value play with one lead investor over in Fort Worth on the west side of town near Las Vegas Trail, which is a lower, it's kind of like a slum area that's on the way up. But in this area, we've got these things cheap. Well, we've gotten the property where it's stabilized and it's cash flowing. But in this neighborhood, what's happened is in Fort Worth on the southwest side, there's a town that's probably 20 miles away from Fort Worth called Toledo. And there was a real estate development company that came in there and bought 9,000 acres of land for homes, for, I guess, shopping centers and maybe some office building and apartments, but schools. And that's a huge thing right there. But even more than that, there's another on the up real close by on the north. It's in the northwest corner of 820 and I-30. I was just reading about an electric car manufacturing company that's backed up by Amazon. It's called the Virion, and they are looking at coming in and buying a bunch of acreage, and they're talking about 7,600 employees, and everybody's going to be making at least $50,000 each. They're going to have 5 acres of concrete flooring, for their manufacturing, warehousing, and all that. And I just thought, man, are we in the right place at the right time? If those people go in there and do that, that's an awesome. That would be an awesome thing. And then one other area that's just unbelievable is also on the south side of Dallas, down by I-20 and I-35 and I-45. And we got into a value play. This is actually with the same guy that we got in Fort Worth and got it cheap years ago, not thinking this was going to happen. But we, over the last 3 years, we have seen so many gigantic warehouse fulfillment centers, distribution centers, manufacturing come in the south side of town where I-20 is, and it's I-35 and I-45. A lot of, since they opened up the Panama Canal for wider, bigger ships, the Houston Ship Channel has just turned into a deal where they're bringing in a lot more goods and stuff up into that shipping area. And a lot of these companies are bringing up more and more stuff up that I-45, and they're putting in these big warehousing. We're talking 2 million square feet of warehouse space for their fulfillment and distribution. And it is just creating incredible employment around there. And, it's one of those deals. I asked the lead investor, I said, hey, did you buy this place thinking that all this was going to be happening here 5 years ago? And he goes, Leo, I could lie to you. And he says, to be honest with you, I didn't know anything like this was going to happen. He thought we were just going to fix the place up, get it straightened out, and we would be ready to go and then turn the project after 2 years. But now we're into it 6 years, and we're getting some unsolicited offers that would just blow your mind. And we have some prepayment penalties on our loans, so we're holding on to them. And I said, that's just fine with me because it just keeps going up in value. And it's just, those are some really hot areas in Dallas right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's even hotter is the passion that's in your voice, Leo, because, you are on this stuff. You love this stuff. This stuff is a part of your life. I love reading that
newspaper every day.
Absolutely. Peggy and Leo, I got to say thank you so much for being on the show today. And for those of you looking to get started, LifestylesUnlimitedWorkshops.com.
The Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a professional regarding your personal investment needs. Nothing presented on the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show constitutes an endorsement, recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any product or security.